This week, the I am saying of Jesus that I'm going to be talking about is his statement in John chapter 10 and verses 11 through 18, I am the good shepherd. And just to give you a quick overview of the week, I'm going to spend 3 days unpacking these verses a little bit from John chapter 10. And then the last 4 days of the week, I'm going to look at a different significant passage from the Hebrew Bible, what Christians often call the Old Testament, to look at some key passages where God is referred to as a shepherd that surely influenced Jesus in making this statement about himself. So we begin today in John chapter 10 and verses 11 through 13. Our verse for the day is verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for the sheep. So this is where Jesus begins, and he contrasts a good shepherd with a hired hand who's not the shepherd and doesn't own the sheep. And so when the hired hand sees a wolf coming, sees a threat, he runs away and leaves the sheep, and the wolf scatters them because the hired hand doesn't care for the sheep. So Jesus is contrasting himself and basically people who are, shall we say, professional religious folks who are just in it for a role but who don't really care about the people. That seems to be part of Jesus' implication. But he is saying something very significant, that he lays down his life for the sheep. Now, if you think about that a little bit, doesn't that sound a tad extreme? I mean, why is a shepherd raising sheep in the first place? Well, often either for wool or for food, or in Jesus' time, shepherd would have raised sheep who were then sold to people who used them to offer sacrifices. So, they were an agricultural animal. So the idea that a good shepherd would lay down his life, risk his life, even give his life to save a sheep, on one level, how do you think that might have been heard by Jesus' first hearers? I think it's possible that the first hearers of this statement would have been, wait a minute, what kind of shepherd would actually allow himself to die just to save a sheep? There's always more sheep. And yet Jesus is saying something significant about himself and about his ministry. He's foreshadowing what he's going to do on the cross. And he's also telling his followers that his love for them is so great that he will willingly risk his life, even take on the wolves, in order to care for them. I don't know if any of you ever saw a movie called The Patriot. It's a Mel Gibson movie with Heath Ledger as well, and it's about the American Revolution. It's set in the American Revolutionary times down in South Carolina, and there is a pastor who leaves his pulpit to join those who are fighting for independence. And when someone asks him, Pastor, looks at him, and he says, a shepherd's place is with his flock, and sometimes fighting off the wolves. That's part of what Jesus is saying. And that pastor in that film ends up doing what Jesus says he will do in laying down his life for his sheep.